Hi, my name is Kelly Wayment with FindingTimeToCreate.com. Make sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you're notified of any new content we release. Let's go into today's project. So today we are going to make an explosion box for a graduate. This is a fun paper craft project that is great to give a graduating senior. When you lift off the lid, it explodes and pops open, and then it has containers for you to take off the lid, and you can put things in like treats or a gift card or cash, anything like that. So this is a very fun paper craft, and I'm excited to show you how to make it. Let's talk about the supplies that you will need. So first, for paper, you're going to use a 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock, and this, I'm using this as a secondary color, so usually you've got two colors for your school colors. The large 12 by 12 I'm using as a secondary color. Then you'll need a 12 by 12 inch piece of black, and that's what's going to make your graduation cap on the top. And you will need 3 pieces of letter size paper in the main school color. And then you will need a piece of white letter size cardstock, and this is a piece you're going to use with a print and cut design. So I've already printed it, but you will start out with a plain white piece of letter size cardstock. All right, so that's it for paper, and then to actually assemble it, we'll use both a liquid craft glue and an adhesive tape runner. And then we'll use the Silhouette scraper tool, and then you'll also need some kind of pre-made tassel in the school colors and a black brad. And the brad size doesn't really matter, but I like this large black brad. And that is all we need, and so we will go ahead and move into the software. All right, so here we are in Silhouette Studio, and we want to be using today, we'll look at the page setup panel first. You want to make sure that your machine is selected. I'm using a Cameo 4, and you do need a Cameo machine for this because we're cutting pieces that need the 12 by 12 inch mat size. You can go larger. You could also cut this with a Cameo Plus or a Cameo Pro. Just make sure that you have the correct machine selected. I'm using the 12 inch cutting mat, and for now I'll just leave it at this 12 by 12 inch media size. I'm going to go to the library. The design we're using for this explosion box is 436886. So you can type it in your search bar or the actual design number. We'll look at this a little closely. It's called the Graduation Explosion Box for gift boxes. It's number 436886. So I'll just double click to open it. And I'm going to use these zoom tools quite a bit. So I'm going to use the zoom in and out using the mouse. So if I just click it once and then drag my mouse upwards, that's going to show all of these at the same time. And while I have this all selected, since I know I'm doing a print and cut later, I want to set my line size to 0.0 inches. That makes sure that nothing will print that shouldn't. So my line size is just up here in the quick access toolbar, and just type in 0.0 while these are selected. Also, if you have not already done so, I like to have my preferences set to cut to the edge of the page. And so down here there's a little gear icon that says Open Preferences Panel. And I want this tab to be Defaults. And when it says down here, cut to edge of page, make sure that that has been checked. That will give us the most cutting area possible, because some of these are quite a tight fit for the letter size paper. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now we can move on to changing the design how we need it. So first we're going to ungroup, so you can just select those and right click and choose Ungroup from the pop-up menu that shows up. And then another thing I do is I like to resize, or actually recolor my pieces. So these two dark gray pieces here, those are going to be my main school color, so those letter size pieces of cardstock. Also, this square is going to be that same color. So if you want to click and hold your shift key and click more, that will add these to your selection. So I've got this square and these two box pieces, the base and the lid selected, and I'm going to choose a red color because that is the color I'm going to change it, the color I'm going to cut it from. The red doesn't have to match exactly, but just close enough so I know I can keep the track of these and how I want to cut them. These three pieces over here that are black, those are going to stay black, so I'll leave those a black color. This little cross piece, this is the secondary color, and so for me I'm choosing yellow. So again, quick access toolbar, these fill colors, I can just choose a yellow so I know what to cut it from. And so I've got all these red, I've got the yellow, I've got my black. This one is going to be white, and so is this one with the text. So with the text, let me zoom in a little bit. These are actually not grouped together yet, and so I don't want these to move. So I'm going to choose right click and group so they move all together. Okay, so zoom out a little bit, and I'm going to set these up so I am ready to cut them. This yellow piece, if I choose center to page, oh, let me move this text out of the way also. We are not going to use that. If I select my yellow piece and choose center to page here on the quick access toolbar, that is going to center it exactly on my 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock. So that's perfect, that's ready to cut. The black ones, I want to make sure that I can fit those on a 12 by 12 inch piece of cardstock because that's the black color that I have. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. If I just say fit to page, that will show me what room I have. So I get these close to the border. Make sure you don't have them crossing the border. And this one I can get pretty close and I still have room. And then of course this black one here has plenty of room. So once I have these, I'm going to select them all together once they are completely on the virtual mat, the virtual page that I have room for. I'm going to select them all and choose group from the quick access toolbar, or again you could choose a right click and group, and then I can choose center to page, and that will place these and make sure that I still have room on all the borders, it's not crossing over. Zoom out a little bit. Those black will be ready when I'm ready to cut them. The red ones are going to be cut from letter size cardstock. So I am going to change my media size now to letter. So over here, if I just click on the drop down arrow, I can choose letter. And just because of the way these are already in a horizontal arrangement, I'm going to choose over here my landscape orientation. So I'm just going to rotate the direction that letter size paper sits on the virtual mat. This one, I need 4 of these. This is the shallower piece to the box, which is going to be the lid. Go back to fit to page. I need 4 of these. So if I just hold my Alt key and click and drag, and I select them at the same time, click and drag, that is going to put 4 there for me. And I could use my align functions to just get them spaced out. So I've aligned the left edges. These ones I can align the right edges. These I can do a top align. These ones I'll do another top align. And once I have those, and you don't have to align them perfectly, but I just like to do it. So I know they're going to fit on the page. They're not overlapping the border at all, so I can group those. And when they're ready, I can put those on center to page, and those will all fit. So I've got 4 of those. I'll zoom out. And then this one, I need 4 of this piece and 4 of this piece. Now I know I cannot fit all 4 of these. There's just not enough room to fit all 4 of these on the same single page. So I will just select those together, and actually I'll just do a drag Alt or Option on a Mac, click to the side, click and drag. And so it's just a matter of making sure that these all fit on the same page. So you can use your arrow keys to nudge up once the item is selected. Then those will fit side by side, and then I just need another one of these square pieces. Alt or Option, click and drag a copy away. So as long as they're not overlapping each other and they're not going past the border of the page itself, the letter size document, then I know they're going to fit. So at this point I'm going to group these, and if I click Center to Page, that will center them, and I can still make sure that those do not go off the page at all. And I told you that we needed 4 of each of these, and so if I just do Alt and click and drag, that makes a duplicate copy of those all at the same time. Okay, so I have all of the pieces, colored pieces I need, so the final step is the print and cut white pieces. So I'm going to also use a letter size page, but I'm going to change my orientation to a portrait orientation. And then I need to turn on registration marks. So if I'm on the page setup panel, go to the registration marks tab, which is the 3rd one, and just check the box for on. And then I can drag these 2 pieces. Now this one, this lower white one, does not actually have anything to print on it, but I do want to cut it from white cardstock, and so just having it on the same page is totally fine. I want these cut from the same piece of paper. All right, so that has our white pages, our white pieces. So all these are ready to cut. It's just going to be a matter of cutting one and then switching over and cutting the next one, just cutting these multiple pages from our Silhouette machine. Now, for one more thing you need to know for the white print and cut page, we'll go to the Send tab, and you can see that that text is all set to cut, and we don't want that text to cut. So all we need to do is select that piece, and we're going to say over here on the side, we're going to say Cut Edge, and that is going to ignore all of the overlapped pieces. So see how that bold red cut lines, those disappeared because now it's only going to cut the outer edge of these overlapped pieces. All right, so that is ready to cut. We're going to go ahead and at this point you would print it, and I have already got this printed myself, and I want to go from my saved copy, the one that I actually printed. So I'm going to go to back to my Send tab, and this is my saved printout. So before I load that, I want to make sure I've got my correct pieces or my correct settings. So the material, I'm just going to go with pattern paper medium because it is a 65-pound cardstock. My action says it's going to cut. I have my auto blade installed. I am going to change my blade depth to 4 for this cardstock, and I'll just speed it up a little bit. So all I need to do is load my printout onto my page, and then I can click Send. All right, so here is my printout that I've printed on this medium weight cardstock. So I need to make sure that I load it onto my mat exactly as it showed in the software on the virtual mat. So that's portrait orientation, and I have my registration marks there. I will just load that. Okay, when I click send, it's going to read those registration marks and adjust my blade and cut exactly as we had in the screen. Okay, so that's my white paper. Go ahead and unload that. I can take these off and save them for the assembly. Okay, and so then we'll just go color by color. I'll load my yellow paper, the 12 by 12, and then go back into the software and put it on the virtual mat. So I am cutting the correct piece, but I'll go ahead and load it, and so it's all ready. All right, so in the software, I'm just going to go to the design page, and I will turn off the registration marks, so now I can just check off for the page setup and move those off to the side. I don't need them anymore. I'll go to the first tab of the page setup panel and switch that back to a 12 by 12 inch page size. And if I just select that piece and choose center to page, that's going to place it exactly on the center of my page. So I can go to the Send tab. I can see that my perforation marks are there. The dark bold lines, red lines are there, so I know it's going to cut. The yellow cardstock I'm using is actually pretty thick, and so I'm going to change the settings. I'm going to go all the way up to a 6, and I am going to do a double pass, and I will also turn on the line segment overcut, and I can bump the speed up again just to make that go a little faster. So this is a setting I've already tested out. When you're using thicker cardstock, your blade will probably be between the 4 to 6 range, but that's just something that you have to practice with your own machine and blade and your cardstock. But this one is ready to cut, so I'll click send. All right, so I will go ahead and check and make sure that cut all the way through, and it did. I'll pull that aside, save that. And while I have those heavier cut settings, I'll go ahead and cut my black 12 by 12, because that was also a heavier cardstock that I bought in the 12 by 12 inch size. We'll get that loaded before we go back to the software to choose where to cut it. Okay, so we'll move back in the design tab. We'll move the yellow off, and since I already organized these and grouped them together, I can just select them and choose center to page. And we'll go back to the send panel. You'll notice this is just slightly different because I'm working off a saved document instead of the one that I put together at the beginning. Okay, check my cardstock settings. Those are all good. So I'll click send. Okay, so those cut just fine also. Pull those off the mat. And all we have left are our red pieces. So remember, with the red, we had it turned in horizontal orientation, and then we'll just make sure that that matches up in the software before we send it. So once more, back to the design page, drag the black off to the side, change our media size to letter and horizontal or landscape orientation. I'm going to zoom back out and grab one of these sets of 4. Okay, so again, once I've selected that, I can just choose center to page because I already had it grouped. And I can see that that fits on the page just great. Go back to the send panel. And this time I'm going to choose that same pattern paper 65 pound that we used for the white, because this is a lighter weight cardstock. Okay, so pattern paper medium. I'm going to leave my blade depth at 4. My speed can be 10, and everything else as is, so I'll click send for that one. All right, just double check that. That looks like that cut pretty good. I'll take these off, and we've only got 2 pages left. All right, so we've got a lot of cut pieces, and I know that may have seemed like a lot, but it's for an explosion box. This is really fun. It's worth it. All right, so we will start with the large cross piece. So this is this secondary color. And you can just fold on the perforations. And when I do perforations with my Silhouette machine, I like to just use my scraper tool. You could use a bone folder, but I just use my scraper tool to make nice crisp edges on all those fold lines. So just fold it and slide your little scraper tool across there. Okay, so on the inside, the way it's folding up is where you're going to put right in the middle your little printout square, the congrats, you earned it. So I will use my adhesive runner, the dry fast grabs adhesive. And just center that in there. There's a little bit of a border on each side of the color. And then we'll flip it over and we will put these side panels on of the main color. So again, just the dry adhesive tape runner for each of these panels. And so you're just eyeballing it to try and get that centered pretty well. Okay, there's our second one. And one more. All right, so we can set that aside for the moment. And we'll move on to the boxes. So I'm just going to show you one box, and you will do all 4 boxes exactly the same. So here's the one that has slightly deeper sides. That's the base of the box. So just like before, we'll find those perforation lines and then just drag your scraper tool across after you fold it, just to make that nice crisp edge. So it's got 4 sides, and then each side has a glue tab. Those won't be seen, so they don't really need that extra scraper tool grab to drag across them. Now when I'm doing something that has 3-dimensional kind of some structure to it, I will actually use both a dry adhesive and a liquid glue just to give it that extra strength. So the dry adhesive, the tape runner, is going to give you the fast grab to hold it into place. But sometimes these are not very strong, and as the pieces pull against each other over time, they may try to pop apart. And so that's why I use a little bit of white glue, just a little bit, and that is going to be more of your long-term hold. So that's just something I've learned over the years doing a lot of paper crafts, is I will use both types of glue. So this glue tab just goes on the inside of the box. We'll tuck it in and just line up that corner there for all 4 corners. And so that tape runner adhesive is going to hold those long enough for that white glue to dry, so you don't have to sit and hold it yourself. Then we will do the same thing with the box lid, the one with the shallower sides. Crease all those sides on their perforation lines, and then a little fold on those glue tabs, and just add a little bit of the tape runner and a little bit of glue. And if they overlap a little bit, the 2 types of glue, I've never found a problem with that. Okay, and then again, we're just going to fold those glue tabs inside. Press those together where the corners meet. And you will do that with all 4 of your boxes. So you've got this deeper base and then the lid. And we don't need the lid on quite yet. So there we have all 4 boxes, and what we're going to do is bring this cross piece over again, and we're going to glue one of these boxes on exactly the same spot on each corner. So if you just think lower left, so you've got a little bit of a gap, that will allow them to fold up, as you'll see in just a minute. So we're going to go with the thicker, the deeper base. That's the one that's going to get glued down. The shallower one is just the lid. So we're gluing down the deeper one. And I have found that if I just do a little cross of glue on with the adhesive directly on this yellow piece, and then a little bit of liquid glue along each edge of the box. And then I'm going to line that up flush with this lower left corner. And here's another place where the scraper tool comes in handy. Just give it a little swipe to get that glue secured down. So I'll set, actually I can put the lid on now. So just rotate it and glue that base the same lower left corner as before for each of these panels. Line it up flush with the lower left edge. And then just use the scraper tool to give a little pressure in there. So these boxes are fun. They can have, they're large enough that you can put a gift card in there. You could put some candy, roll up some dollar bills, anything that your graduate might find exciting to have a little surprise in each box. All right, last one. All right, so now when these get folded up, you can see that they don't run into each other. They fit perfectly there. And so now we just need to construct the lid that's going to hold those together. So the lid piece, same thing. We're going to fold along those perforations and then give it a little extra sharp crease with the scraper tool. This one has glue tabs also. And same as before, we'll just add some dry adhesive and a little bit of white glue on each glue tab. And then again, tuck those glue tabs underneath and just fold that piece so it meets at the corner with each of the four corners. And if your white glue tries to dry before you have it secured, you can just add a little bit more white glue. Okay, so this is the piece that will slide over the top here. I'm going to let that dry for just a little bit while we put these last pieces together. So this one's pretty simple. We're just going to line up the hole that the machine has cut for you on all 3 of these and just stack them together. So I use my smallest piece first. Put the small black square on top of the white square. And then I'll add glue to the white square. Oh, looks like we've run out of adhesive, so I'll just add a little bit of white glue. Okay, so line up the hole again. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold up this box and put the lid on it. You can see how that just slides on there perfectly. And then just take a little tassel, have a brad that you can poke through the hole. Spread out the little brad legs, and then this will just get glued on top here. And it might be easiest to center it if you flip the whole box over and look from above. So you can get that centered. But now you've got that cute little graduation hat. And when they lift it off, those little boxes will pop out and have the little sentiment inside. So what a fun project to give a graduate. Thank you for joining me in this project today. I hope you enjoyed making this graduation explosion box. It's a fun paper craft that I think anyone would appreciate. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below, and we hope you join us next time.